Windows 7, Tips, Tricks, and Techniques, brought to you by Log On to Learn. Objectives include: explore the new features of Windows 7. We'll start with the Start menu, then we'll move into Pinning and Jump List, Searching, Snipping Tool and Calculator. Then we'll move into Managing Files and Folders, which will include examine the new Explorer window, finding, searching, and saving files, and create folders. Microsoft Windows 7 is the latest, greatest operating system from Microsoft. Windows is software that runs your computer, connecting all hardware and other software programs together. Today we'll explore the desktop area, the Start menu, the Taskbar, and the notification area. We'll start with the Start menu. Now the Start menu looks a little different than the XP version in the fact that how we navigate to find recently opened programs or even find programs that we haven't opened before. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to find, let's say, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. So we can click on the All Programs. Now notice this menu does not expand beyond this box right here. So all we have to do is navigate down through and find our Microsoft folder and Microsoft Word. Now let me go ahead and close out of Microsoft Word, and let me show you now. If I want to open Microsoft Word up, I go under the Start menu and notice that the most recent program that we had was Microsoft Word. So I do have access to Microsoft Word a little bit quicker than I did before. The other way, which I think is much easier, is you simply come right in here. This is a search box. Look at what it'll search for. It will search for programs and files. I'm going to start typing in Excel. Now notice what happens when I type in Excel. It finds some programs, and it looks like I have both the 2010 and the 2003 version installed on this computer. It also finds documents that have the word Excel in them. And notice I have several Excel folders that I can also navigate to. And I also have different files here as well. Simply click on Excel, and I'll open up Microsoft Excel. Going to the Start menu, you'll see the two recent programs that I've had open. One of the other things that we can do is we can pin them. So what most recent means is this. If I open up other applications or programs, what's going to happen is they're going to fill up this area here. Well, eventually I'm going to run out of room. And once I run out of room, Microsoft is then going to remove something that I haven't used in a period of time and replace it with something that I have used recently. So again, this is the most recently used. What I'm interested in doing is always having Microsoft Word available. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on Microsoft Word. And when I right click, I get a menu of options. And notice the options that I get. Open, of course, opening Microsoft Word. Pin to Taskbar, that would be down in this location here, down in the Taskbar. Pin to Start menu, or you can even remove it from the list. Now I'm going to click on Pin to Start menu. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a faint line just under the Microsoft Word. What that means is Microsoft Word will remain in this menu indefinitely until I decide to unpin it. So let me just add a couple more things here. I'm going to look for the calculator, and notice I'm just starting to type in just a few letters of the word, and here's the calculator right here. Now one of the things that we can do is this. If I know I want to add that, maybe even pin it or place it in the most recent, I can just simply right click, and from my right click menu, notice I have Pin to Taskbar or Pin to Start menu. Now I'm going to pin this to Start menu, and let's take a look and see what we get. And notice that it's pinned right here to the Start menu. Over time, you may acquire quite a few of these that you've pinned, and you may want to unpin them or remove them from the list. And this can be done very easily as well by simply just right-clicking on the icon that you would like to either move out of the pinned area or remove it from the actual list. And notice I have a unpin from Start menu or even a remove from this list. So if I unpin from the Start menu, you'll see that it removes it right from the list. Also under the Start menu, you'll find different locations that you can navigate to, such as your documents, pictures, music are all broken down, even some recent items, computer, showing you all the different network drives and local drives that you can go to, control panel, some default programs, and some help. Also, the button down here says shutdown, but there is an arrow off to the right. We'll give you some other options other than just shutting down, either logging off or even locking the computer as well. Another thing I want to show you is instead of just pinning things to the start menu, which I think is a great idea, you can also pin them to what we call our taskbar down here. So here's Microsoft Word. I would like to have this also pinned on my taskbar. Now by right-clicking on this, notice that I do have a pin to taskbar. And notice the Word icon right here. Now I'm going to go out and find that calculator. I'm going to pin that to the taskbar. So remember how I did that? I just clicked here, started typing the word calculator in, found it here under Programs, right-click, and this time I'm going to pin to the taskbar, not the Start menu. And you'll see the little icon down here. Now a couple of neat things happen when you pin things, especially in the taskbar or in the Start menu. And that is jump lists. So let's say, for instance, you opened up a document. Let me just go find a document to open up here. All right, so I just opened up this vendor credit form letter. Close it out. So that's something that I've recently had open. Now I can find that document very quickly now in this new Windows 7 interface. By simply going under the Start menu, I have an arrow off to the right of the Microsoft icon. And what it's showing me here is a couple different locations, a pinned and a recent. A recent means the recent documents that I've opened up. And again, these will cycle out if I do not open them up over a period of time, and another document will take its place. These are shortcuts to allow you to navigate out and find these documents quickly. Now, one of the things that you can do if you're going to be working on this, let's say for the next couple of weeks, and you always want to have quick access to it, you can hover over the file name and notice the push pin on the right side. If you click this, you will pin it to this list. Now what that means is, even if you don't open this up a month or even a year from now, it still will remain in your pinned list, where these will cycle out if you do not open them over a period of time. You can always unpin them if you do want to move it back down into the recent section. So from the Start menu, we have our jump list right off to the right of the icon. You can see in Excel I have the same thing here where it shows some of the most recent workbooks that I've opened up. But also what we can do is if you did place an icon down on your taskbar, you can simply right click. Now it's important that you right click because if you left click, you're just going to open the program. It's just a quick button to open the program. But if you right click on the icon, you get to see the recent files and the pin files that you would like to have access to very quickly. Now this doesn't just include Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint that you might be using. It also includes any of your folder lists. So where have you been recently as far as what folders have you navigated to? Well, you'll be able to find them very quickly here. Or what about what internet sites have you been to very quickly? You can even pin these as well so that you can get quick access to them anytime you want just by simply right-clicking on, in this case, the Internet Explorer icon and going right to either the pinned or the frequent section. And simply launch that site very, very quickly. Pin lists and icons can be easily removed by simply just right-clicking. Notice when I right-click, I can unpin this program from here, or I can go ahead and I can right-click on any of these, and I can remove these from the list as well. Another way to find files is to use the search. Now we have a couple different locations where we can use the search tools. One I showed you earlier is under the Start menu. And remember, we opened that vendor form up, that Word document, but I can't quite remember where it is. So I'm just going to start typing in the word vendor, and notice all the different options that I have. And this is in fact the one that I had open earlier, and I can get quick access to it as well. So now you can just be in a window or even in the Start menu and just simply start typing, and you can find results. Now I don't have Outlook hooked up to this particular profile here, but if I did, I would also have possibly some Outlook emails that were related to whatever it is that I typed in. Now to get out of this search and let's say, for instance, I did not want to grab any of these files, I do have an X right here to the right of this search box, but you can also use the escape key in the upper left of your keyboard. When it comes to switching between windows, so the active windows that you have on your computer, Windows 7 has a couple of great ways to navigate between one window and the next window. Now let me just go ahead and open up a couple of files, and I'll show you just the difference here. So why don't we go ahead and we'll open up Microsoft Word, we'll open up Excel, and I'm going to grab another Word document. So let me just right click and I'll grab that Espresso there. We'll grab this one right here. All right, so I have a good 3 windows. I'll even open up the calculator as well. So I've got a lot of windows going on here. And it can be a little tricky to kind of navigate between these windows. Now, one of the features that I've used in XP and in Vista as well is the Alt-Tab key. Now, the Alt-Tab key may look a little different than what you've seen before because the thumbnails are a little bit larger. And you can see the window kind of bringing it forward. There's the calculator. There's the Word document. And if I want to see that Word document, I just let go of the Alt key, and it brings that one forward, which is really nice. Now there is a new feature in Windows 7, and that is the Windows key. It looks the key on your keyboard looks very similar to this start menu, this little flagger or Windows key they call it. So Windows Tab now gives you a 3D view of what windows are available, and then you just let go of the Alt key, and then it brings that window forward. So if I want to bring the Excel, most of the time, I think that's fancy and all that stuff. Most of the time, I just do Alt-Tab. Alt-Tab is a great quick way. Look how I'm moving very, very quickly between these two windows. Now, they do have a couple of other features as well. Now, if you look way down in the lower right as I'm moving down here, there's like a little rectangle-shaped box, and that one will show your desktop. If you click on it, it will actually minimize all windows and remove them from your desktop. So this one will just kind of show you, or you can click, and you notice that they're all now not visible because they're all down here on my taskbar. If I click again, it will restore them. If you're going to use this or you like that feature, try the Windows key. Again, I showed you what that looks like, and the letter D. So Windows D stands for desktop, and Windows D again will bring those windows forward. Let's say, for instance, you also want to just see one of the windows, and you might have multiple windows in here. So let me just bring a couple of them forward here and one back. And one of the things you can do is, notice I'm in the title. Now I'm going to left click on the title, and I'm just going to give it a quick little shake left and right. Do you see how everything behind it has disappeared? So all of the windows, except for the active one, are going to be hidden. If I shake it again, notice they will come back. You also have the great side-by-side view, so for viewing, which is fantastic. So for instance, if I want to view these two, the Excel and the Word side by side, I simply drag over and just keep dragging until you see that kind of outline half the screen. And you let go of it and you've got half the screen with that particular document. Now, when you grab this one, now I've got a slight problem here. I have dual monitors, and when you have dual monitors, if I drag this, I'm going to drag it to the other monitor, which is great if you have dual monitors. But if you don't have dual monitors, you would just drag it to the right, and it would then take up half this size. Now, if you do have dual monitors and you do want to put this all on one monitor instead of sliding it over to the next, you're going to have to use the Windows key and the right arrow. So Windows key right arrow is the keyboard shortcut for sizing this in half, and Windows and left arrow key would size it over here. So splitting the screen in half so that you can see a couple of windows. Now to get these or restore these back where they were before, you simply just left click and drag it. Notice now that they are just cascade windows, so one on top of the other. You certainly can maximize them. You can even drag this up to the top and it will maximize it, pull it down, and it will cascade the window as well. So the three that I just showed you were they call this snap, which snaps the window to the side. Peek, which is this little rectangle shape down here showing you the desktop or minimizing or restoring those windows. And also the shake, which will either hide or restore those windows. There are a couple of new and exciting tools that are available as well. And I'm going to show you a couple different ones here. I'm going to go to the Start menu, and I could go under All Programs accessories and find them in here, just to let you know what's in here if you're not going to type, which I'm going to do in just a second, and use the search. We have the calculator, which is definitely much more improved than any other calculator you've used in the Windows interface. We have notepads here, just to let you know. But also we have the snipping tool, which is new and exciting, and we're going to talk a little bit about that one. And we also have sticky notes. So if you like those little notes, you can certainly use them to your heart's content. Now I'm just going to click right in here and look for the snipping tool. And look, I only had to type in the letters S and the letter N, and notice it found it for me very quickly. Now what I like about the snipping tool is that I can capture a small portion of the screen and draw over it and just get that small little image. Whereas I do use the print screen on the keyboard quite often, and I use the Alt print screen as well, which will capture the active window. Those are great keys, and those keyboard shortcuts, and I certainly would continue to use them. But there's certain times that the snipping tool really comes in handy. Now here's the snipping tool right here. So we get a little dialog box, and in this dialog box we have a few different choices. So freeform, we have rectangle, so this will give me at least a nice rectangle. This one I can actually draw any shape I want. A window snip, or even a full size snip. So windows would be your active window, full size would be of course your entire screen. I'll stick with the rectangle shape, and I'm just going to capture, let's say, this area right here. So I'm just left clicking and dragging, and I'll move it over just a little bit more here. And notice this. Now what's neat about this, let's say compared to the print screen that you've probably used before, is you can actually save this. So it's actually going to be a file that you can bring up later and paste it into another, let's say, document or whatever it is that you're going to be using it for. So we have the save button right here. We have a copy button. We can even email the snip to someone. We have all kinds of ways of marking it up, and we can certainly save it with the markup. We have different options here available. Even a highlighter where we can highlight certain, oops, we grab that highlighter. There we go, highlighter, and highlight certain things. And of course we have an eraser that will get rid of some of that stuff as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. I'll move into this document right here. Just enter down a little bit, and I'll go ahead and I'll paste it in. And there you go. So not only do you get exactly what you want, but you certainly can mark it up a little bit before you copy and paste it in there as well. So a great, great tool. Love the fact that you can also save this and have a library of clippings that you can reuse over and over again. If you need to grab a new one, you just hit new. It opens it back up again. Maybe that's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted it from this point to this point right here, and I get the new image. I'm not going to save this. So that's a great tool. Another one is that sticky note, and I'm going to go ahead and click on start. Let me start typing in sticky note. There we go. So there's our sticky note. Now our sticky note is this little note right here, and we can certainly add a note if you want, and it'll stay on your desktop, and you can type in. You can also right click in the note, not up in the title, because that's a little bit different here. You can see where you can move and resize it. But if you right click actually in the note itself, you can change the color of the note as well. When you're done with it, you just simply hit the X, and it's going to ask you, do you want to delete the note? Windows 7 has made managing files and folders much easier than previous versions of Windows, in the fact that they have great search tools and different ways to navigate and find the actual files that are stored either on your computer or somewhere in a network location. So I want to show you a little bit about the new window, the Explorer window. Now this can be found in a couple of different locations. Some of you might right click on the Start menu and choose Windows Explorer, which is fine. This is going to look a little different than the Windows XP environment in that it brings you to this thing called Libraries. So Libraries is really just kind of a collection of folders that are in here, and you'll notice that Documents, music, pictures, and videos, and you can actually even create your own folders that may point to different locations. So you may have files in a couple of folders, and it would be kind of neat if you could click on one folder, but yet link out to those two different folders. And you certainly could do that with the libraries. So you'll see the libraries over here. This is really the navigation pane over here on the left side. You'll notice a very clean looking window up here, and we'll get into that a little bit more in just a second here. But let me, while I'm talking about this, show you just something right here. Notice under libraries, again, we find the documents, the music, the pictures, and the videos. And also look at this little triangle right here. It's a little different than what we've seen before in the past. We used to have plus and minuses, and that would determine whether subfolders are collapsed or they're expanded so that we can view them. Now you're looking at triangles, and depending on the angle that they're pointing in will determine whether they've expanded and you're seeing the subfolders under there, or if it's collapsed. So you may come into this environment at some point in time and notice that the libraries folder's there, but the subfolders are not visible. You need to make sure that you click on this little triangle, expand the list. You can see I even have something under my documents as well. Music, pictures, and video. So that's one way that we can get to Explorer window to talk about opening up existing files, finding files, and so on. We can also just go right under the Start menu, and documents, pictures, music, computer, any of those will get us to that Explorer window. So let me just take computer for instance. Even though you're not necessarily going to open a file here, you certainly could navigate from one of these particular locations to grab the file. You still have that window over here on the left where you can then simply navigate to figure out, where that file is located. And what I want to do is I'm going to go out and we're going to find a particular file, and I want to show you a couple different things. So I'm going to drill down here and navigate into this folder here. And let's go into Excel level 2. All right, so you can take a look at what I've got here. I've drilled down several folders to get in here to find a particular file. Take a look at the address up here at the top. This is a little different as well. Now what they've done is, instead of just having the slash here in between the folder levels, they now have a triangle. Now this triangle allows you to click on it and see everything under that level. So you know what? Maybe I made a mistake and I wanted Excel level 1. Yes, I can still back up and go forward like I did before, but now I can quickly click and choose something right here, level 4. Maybe I didn't even really want Excel, I really wanted Word. Well, I can come to the drop down here and I can choose Microsoft Word, go into Word level 2. You can move quickly between any of the levels just by simply clicking on the triangle and looking at the different levels that we have. So that's nice. But again, you still can use the back and the forward arrows if you need to. We do have a nice search here, so let's get out of here and maybe move up to documents again. And I'm really looking, and notice what it's saying here. It's searching documents, but as you kind of navigate in, notice it says, oh, now I'm going to search the Office 2007-2010 combo class files. So when it comes to searching for a file, just make sure that it's labeled here so that you're going to target that specific location, that folder location. So remember, we were doing something with vendor. Oh, take a look at this. Sure enough, there's our file that we were using before. Now, one of the things is, if you're going to use the search tool here, you're going to get a different display. Not like a list or an icon or anything like that. And if you look over here on the right side, there's a couple of different button icons here. And this first one here is more options. And this is showing you the different views that we have as far as how we want to view our particular files. You can almost read it in the extra large icon. But content is the new one that you're going to see. So content is the one, when we use search, you're going to get this. Now it's a pretty great looking one here because it does give you the title, some text in there, the location of where it's found, as well as some other properties that you'll see over here on the right. To simply get out of here, you're going to hit the X button that will cancel your search. One of the things that I miss with this particular look here is the menu bar across the top. And I do use a couple of those options. So I want to show you where that is. So we talked about the address bar, the search, which is really amazing. But then we also have some tools across this bar here. And so you can create a new folder. You could even burn these to a CD or DVD, and you can even share it with certain people as well. But under Organize is where you can do some other things. Now, Organize Layout. That's where you can turn on and off parts of this particular Explorer window. So right now you'll notice the detail pane's on, and I'll show you where that is in a minute. Preview pane, which is also found over here as well. Nice quick button. Navigation pane is over here in our library pane. So I'm going to go ahead and click on menu bar. Notice it brings back the menu bar. So this is similar to that XP look where you have those drop down options. And I do use a few of these, so I usually turn this on. As far as the reading pane goes, again, I can turn it on here. It's an on-off button. And as I navigate down through these files, I can simply just click on them once just to see what they look like. And kind of see it before I open it up. And I can certainly turn that off. Now, these are two panes, so you can always hover between panes, and you can adjust them as well. This is going to give you help, and you have different ways of arranging your folders. Notice down here, since I have clicked on this particular file here, here are the properties of that particular file. Kind of like when you right-clicked in the old days, you'd right-click on a file, and you go to properties, and you'd see when it was created, and the size of it, and so on. Well, you're going to find that down here in the properties window. So when it comes to creating a folder, you can do it a couple different ways. You certainly would want to navigate to where you want to create the folder. Maybe it's going to be in this area here. Notice I have a new folder button, which makes it really easy and convenient. But you might have used the right-click method before, and you certainly can still use that method to create a new folder. You can also click and right-click on this, and you could delete it. You could rename it as well. Now, when it comes to taking files and maybe moving them or creating a copy of one, you can do it a couple different ways. You certainly can click and drag if you can see the destination location, but if I can't, then I have a couple of other options. One is I can certainly navigate through here to find there's the ABC project folder I just created, and I certainly could do this and drag it here. Notice the label that's saying move to ABC project. Good news is if you moved it into the incorrect folder, you can always go under edit and you can undo the move and it will move it back into the previous location. You can also just right click and you can copy or cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Simply navigate to the folder you want, right click again and paste. And I'll go ahead and just undo that so I don't mess that file up. Notice it's removed from here as well. I strongly recommend the cut and paste, not the copy and paste. The thing with the copy and paste means that now you have the file twice stored somewhere, and it might be confusing on which file is the latest version. So you really should have one copy on the network, not multiple copies scattered all over the place. So that's a quick tour of Windows 7. That concludes this session. Be sure to check out our library at logontolearn.com to find other related videos. Thank you for choosing logontolearn.com, educating the world anytime, anywhere.